Start with the questions. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any changes to the consent agenda tonight? You didn't even get to that. You have any changes? Cool. Wait, I'm loading. All right, I think we are open for the first session of public comments. The policy is up on the screen. If anybody in the audience would like to speak now, you're welcome. It's gonna be a long meeting. What do you mean you'll wait?
Okay, so I won't.
Yeah, but you will need to use a microphone. So we do have a long meeting tonight because we have this like god awful number of policies to talk about. So public comments is a great time right now. We have lots of time for it.
Thank you. Kathy Kozlowski from Ringe. The only comment, and it's difficult to make because Wendy does an awesome job with the minutes, but if we could maybe not use acronyms so much. And it's like things may appear in one meeting and then they come back as an acronym in another meeting, and trying to follow, it's difficult. And the list of all that you're going to be reading tonight, that's it.
It is very hard to do the policies without acronyms, but yes, we will do our best to keep the label after it. So,
That would be great.
thank you, Ken.
Can I comment?
Yes, you.
I have a hard time with the acronyms myself, and I try and pay attention to them. And I understand the reason for it, but sometimes I read things like minutes and I think, they could have spelled out those 3 words and cut that sentence in half by leaving out some of the extraneous stuff. So I kind of agree.
Thank you.
Won't you have these?
I know it's more work than you.
Are there any online public comments? Okay. Nothing? Would you like to say anything, sir? Okay. All right. So we are going to go on once I get it up on the screen. Oh, there we go. All right. So tonight, as part of our series of informational sessions, we've had food service come in June. We've had some information from oh gosh, that's so many things. They've been doing great. That it wasn't testing, it was NEASC. That was incredible. So we've had these different information sessions. The intention is to take some of the biggest things that we do, not just programs, but what we spend our money on, what we spend our focus on, and take them out of the budget season so that we can have just a really in-depth conversation about what these programs do for our community. And normally we only hear about it in December during budget season when it's only related to how much we want to ask for money. This is taking it completely away from that. So this is simply talking about here's what our investment is doing. This is a year in review, what we hope for the future. So tonight we have a very special guest of Heather Lindstad, our athletics director, and she's going to be talking to us about our athletics and extracurricular work. And thank you so much for coming, Heather.
Before Heather goes, because she's going to end up online pretty soon, like these, I just wanted to put this out there to those who are viewing that in the 2024-25 school year, which we just completed, you'll see that you have the board agenda, the minutes, the recordings, and something new that has started in the past month, where now that those sessions that Lisa just spoke about, so the NEASC accreditation presentation, the student services presentation, the state of activities and athletics presentation that's going to happen tonight. That will also, there'll be another column. You can, if you click on this, it'll bring you right to that presentation. So that if there are also, I mean, one, you can go right there. You don't have to scroll through the entire video, but also if someone asks you questions about something or wants to know some information, you can go click on a link and send a link to somebody to give them something that they can just watch in about 15 minutes, half an hour. Depends if you want to listen to all the questions and answers, but the presentation itself is usually about 20 minutes.
Excellent.
And so we go to 25-26 under the school board agenda. This right here, July 21, 2025, that will be replaced once we have the new video.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Okay, well, happy summer. Thank you for having me. Heather Lindstad, the activities director. So I guess a couple of things, we're gonna review what happened in 24-25, but also what's moving forward, for 25-26. In a way that, I think just people talk about it and everybody kind of says that it's more about activities and athletics and if it's my voice. And so tonight I tried to make sure that we understood that activities and athletics are really, it's about the students. So I did get some testimonials from students, and I won't read all of them, but I've attached it to the presentation so that you can read their testimonials about this. Also have a couple of teachers, and I have one teacher that is going to speak about her role running activities and athletics and those kind of things. But I think in general, I just want to highlight that it is about us being a little bit more unique than others. And when we talk about co-curriculars, I think as a district, there's always been this drive for us to have student voice. And that has always been the key for me, is listening to student voice and what they want. So go over some of the clubs and activities and even the new sports that we've added, because it's not about what I wanted or what we thought we needed. And it's not about the past, it is about the current of what students want. And, you know, tonight, again, I might have to put on glasses for the first time I've ever presented in my whole life. I might have to put it on because things do change. So in me seeing this, I even put my screen here, I've got big print, but I still might need these. And I want people to remember that, because I know we always talk about, we were able to do it before, why can't we do it now? Well, things have changed and our students have used their voice, and that's why a lot of things have changed within our school district. So what makes us different? Student voice. One of the keys to us receiving the Eddies, and I know that it was a lot of hard work by all teachers and those kind of things, but when I was asked about co-curriculars, one individual asked me, how do you get so many kids to sign up for co-curriculars or activities? And I said, I see them. And I think all of our teachers see them. And that's why we have clubs and activities, because we see our students ask for something and there's a discussion. Can we make this happen? Because again, co-curriculars are such an extension of their learning and their everyday. And I would say this, sometimes I believe co-curriculars come before their classroom setting, because really some of them don't know what they want. They don't know where they're at, but you know what? They show up for school. They start to engage in class because they have something after school that they really, really are passionate about and they want to find out more about. And it gives them a sense of belonging. For those that don't feel that they belonged, and you'll see it in a lot of the testimonials, some of the kids have found their best friends from playing sports or being engaged in activities. The other thing that, you know, for 1 to 3%, I will talk about the budget that finances co-curriculars is the service. And we'll talk about that and all of the services that our student athletes give to the whole community. And when we talk a little bit more about it, you'll be amazed about the hours and what our students are doing through these co-curriculars. And again, there's some pictures here of Interact, but also something different, and I know some people take offense to it, but that everybody in that picture for athletics, that's our whole winter group. And if you look, everybody's kind of wearing the same white top, although some kids forgot theirs. Of course, that happens. But that's the sense of community that we've really driven, and why more kids are even playing athletics and supporting it is because they really do feel the sense of community. As we all know, but we all have to talk about it, what are the benefits of co-curriculars, right? Well, all the stats will show you, and David Dustin will show you, and we'll show what's happening at the grade schools as well, right? It improves their academic performance. Again, is it because they're coming to school, they know that there's a bar that's set so that they can be involved in clubs and activities and sports? Maybe that's it, but really it's all the soft skills that they're learning because of those kind of things, right? It develops the social skills. There's more of a community atmosphere. You have more friends. You have something that you're passionate about that you can share with others. Personal growth from fostering self-esteem and discovery of leadership. And I'll go over a lot of the leadership things that we go through here at the school. Stress relief and well-being. Again, of course, if you're exercising, your well-being is much better too. Certainly that's the benefit of being part of sports, but also some of the clubs and just, again, the emotional part of it. Career readiness. Again, the next one I show, or some of the testimonials will show that a lot of our students, because of different leadership things, they felt really encouraged about taking the next step into either the workforce or into getting into the college of their choices. So when I started here, so I dug a little deep, and it's pretty interesting that I can shoot an email out and I can find some of our graduates and ask them the questions about it, because about student voice and how they felt like what they did made a huge difference. So in Patrick Greeno's words, Nintendo Club, and I took a lot of heat when I first started this, because people said, Heather, we're supposed to be getting kids out of just playing games, and everybody's attached to video games and those kind of things. And I knew at first when I said it, but there was 3 seniors that actually wanted the Nintendo Club. And in Patrick's own words, when I reached out to him, he said Nintendo Club was originally just a way for me and my friends to play games with each other, but slowly grew into something way more than any of us could have guessed. I was starting to meet more people through the club as our numbers started to grow, and it led to some awesome opportunities like running an assembly. Okay, because of student council and those kind of things, right? They picked Patrick as a person to run an assembly or pep rally or whatever you want to call it. And here was a kid that just started the Nintendo Club and was a senior and never felt like he really had gotten seen. And the next thing you know, he's running an assembly. Used to help later on life while in college. Without Nintendo Club, I don't think I would have gotten as much out of high school as I did. Another young lady who graduated just last year started the animation group, and honestly, it did help me create new leadership skills. It helped my mental health too when it came to some personal struggles I was dealing with at that time. And for me personally, it did make me feel more capable of being in a class as a whole. Again, her attendance all obviously improved and those kind of things, just because she felt like she was empowered to run a club, but also the group that she met. This year, this one is from the essay that of Lola Hayes. Lola Hayes, I don't believe we've ever had this, and I guess I could go. Something that I would like to change long term is our record keeping for athletics and a lot of things isn't as great as it should be. But Lola, we had gotten into, we hadn't been, I don't know why, a part of the scholars, the NHADA, but in the last couple of years, we've been going to the senior thing. You have to write an essay to get the scholarship, and I think it's the first, but I could be wrong again. Our record keeping isn't great, way before me, of student athletes if they won these awards. But again, so Lola's essay was part of why she got the award. And again, I just took excerpts of it, but I thought these are kind of the things that pushed and go with what I was saying, what the benefits are. So I stole it. On top of that, I pushed even further and signed up for harder classes. I signed up for different extracurricular activities and clubs too. The more I put myself out there, the more comfortable I became. I met more friends and ended up holding leadership roles in many clubs. I learned that in order to advance to the next level and anything that I needed to spread my wings, became a leader. Another big life-changing moment came when I volunteered with the Interact Club to help renovate a school in the Dominican Republic. What an eye-opening experience that was. I went on a trip not knowing who I would hang out with. And again, this goes back to the friendships that between clubs and activities that the kids, and it's not just about sports and winning, it's about those things. I connected with a couple people I knew and we became close friends. I could feel my heart change. If you read the rest of Lola's thing, though, she will talk about, and I guess one of the things that I talk about is I sit here and talk to all of you. If it wasn't for sports, I wouldn't be sitting here. And Lola talks about it, how shy she was and how athletics, but also clubs have helped her manage these things and do the things that she wanted. And she's become a great leader because of those kind of things and the growth that she's had with her friendships. Here is our group, this Lola getting the award, as well as our other senior scholars. And again, our senior scholars, I bring this up because you know what? They didn't know that this was award, and you don't know. You have to, for 4 years, achieve, okay, a grade point average of over a 2.8 for the entire 4 years that you're at that school and participate in at least 2 athletic sports. So they didn't know that they were achieving this, but they knew that they wanted more. And that is one of those things about being in athletics, right? You challenge yourself, just as Lola said, I just challenged myself. And the next slide, David Dustin had given me about the New Hampshire scholars, right? People now, our students are now driving themselves. They're taking more classes, more core courses. They're preparing themselves for college and their careers, but they're challenging themselves as far as what they want to do and how rigorous they want their high school academics to be in their curriculum. So again, it's not there. It is just kind of being a part of something and the environment that has been created here of challenging themselves. And again, what came first, or sometimes what is the drive? Well, maybe it's just that after school club, but then it turns into so much more as far as what they're trying to do and what they're trying to achieve academically, because they know that they have the support and that they've learned how to drive themselves harder and take on more challenges. Some of the leadership and service opportunities, and like I said, we for just Interact in National Honor Society, we've logged about 1,000 hours. And again, talk about that, but sometimes even I don't track the number of hours that people put into game crew. But if we didn't have sports, we wouldn't have a game crew, right? We wouldn't be live streaming. They wouldn't be running concession stands and those kind of things. And that's all kind of the services that they give back. 2 of the biggest ones that I initiated and kind of oversee, although I have advisors for them, is the Link Crew and Web. Web, where everybody belongs, is our middle school leadership program, so that 8th graders are overseeing and mentoring our 6th graders, while Link Crew is juniors and seniors who oversee the 9th grade orientation, and Web does the same thing. 8th graders run our 6th grade orientation. Our juniors and seniors run our 9th grade orientation. So they run it, they give up time during the summer, they give up 2 days to come in, to train, to learn to be better leaders, to give of themselves. Again, they're giving back, and that is community. And all year, they run different events. They meet with their mentor groups. So there's 2 to 3 Link Crew members or 2 to 3 Web kids meeting with mentor groups of 8 to 10. Our numbers are phenomenal as far as the way that this program has grown. When I started the Link Crew, we started as, I think we had 20. In fact, I know we did. We had 20. This year, because we've already had our registration, we already had our fun day of training during the school year. We have 41 high school juniors and seniors that want to give back and mentor the ninth graders. Our web went from 18 to 20 to 24 this year. And again, keep in mind, they had web leaders and they had link crew leaders that supported their years. And now they want to return it and give back, right? So they want to stay with the program. They know what it did for them. These programs are there, and especially the link crew, to make sure that ninth graders feel the sense of community. In ninth grade is that formal year, am I going to make it in high school, right? The dropout rates are higher in ninth grade than most, where kids just say, you know what, this isn't for me. And when I talk about this when people saying to me at basketball games, Heather, how can we have more activities? How can we keep these kids that aren't in school, that are down, creating trouble maybe in downtown Jaffrey? How can we do this? And these are one of the programs and leadership things in the community that we're trying to do here at the school. But again, we ask for applications, right? We're not recruiting kids to do these kind of things. They're doing it for themselves because they want the community. They want to be stronger for it. They want to be better leaders, and they want to give back. And so when we talk about leadership and service opportunities, we're creating those things. As everybody knows, if you come to Hoops for Hope, it's always, there's the fan base, right? They're involved. National Honor Society and raised over $4,500 for Hoops for Hope. In the last couple of years, our fall sports, because we have homecoming, we've raised at least $2,000 every year for cancer as well. So these are all opportunities where the student athletes and or National Honor Society is working with athletics to create and promote these kind of events for everybody. Again, it's just building. You're going to see some of these pictures, and I'm sorry, but hot pink was the color of the year last year, so I don't know. Again, here it is, and here are the numbers. So it's a little off about link crew involvement from year to year and how it's grown. If you look at the middle photo, again, for link crew and web, right, during the school year, we have events. So that's a Halloween get together and building those kind of things. Funny thing about just bringing new things in, and I have to bring it up because Charlie had no idea what pickleball was when I first came here. Pickleball, and now that we introduced it and our PE teachers introduced it, when we ran the link crew Olympics, it was an Olympic event that the kids said, oh, everybody wants to play pickleball. At the Olympic event, all the ninth graders, every ninth grader was so excited to be on the court. The court was surrounded by everybody cheering on for pickleball as one of the main events of the Olympics. And I laugh about that because in Maryland now it's a varsity sport. In Florida, they think pickleball is going to be a varsity sport. And maybe we will be on the cutting edge here in New Hampshire. Again, and talking to David and administration here at Conant Middle High School, you can see as far as the community and sense of belonging, as things have obviously, incidents have gone down. Again, I say that, you know, to our link kids and our web, it is so nice to know somebody's name. And our eighth graders and our juniors and seniors walk the hallways and they're learning these kids' names. So if a ninth grader doesn't feel like they're known, they pick their head up because there's somebody saying hello to them. It makes a huge difference in the hallways and in the community, in the sense of belonging and those kind of things. And so right now I'm going to turn it over a little bit because I've stolen some of her thunder probably because of all the things, but Amanda Wiley has obviously been terrific as an advisor for us or for me when teachers have left or those kind of things, and there's a club like Dungeons and Dragons that doesn't have an advisor. I'm able to ask her to fill in and sit in, and she studies up on Dungeons and Dragons and make sure that the students have a great event. So the voice of a teacher, Amanda Wiley.
I'm going to sit out of the video screen so I can read my notes here. So I participated in CMHS clubs as a mentor since the first year I worked as a full-time teacher. The value of clubs is their ability to offer high-quality, unique experiences for learners without the burden of academic measurement. I have seen my students who might struggle in some academic challenges thrive in the clubs they participate in. The school day is a high-stress environment, both academically and socially. The students are under pressure to absorb all academic information, perform to high standards on all assessments and projects, and to behave appropriately at all times amongst their peers and the adults around them. They must do this every weekday, and I, as their teacher, see the weight of this on them constantly. This pressure is important. They are learning to connect with their community and to hold themselves responsible in their lives, but they do not have many opportunities to be in this space without that weight of the pressure and expectation. During clubs and activities, that pressure shifts. They must still hold themselves to high social standards. They must still use their academic skills, but the goals and experiences have changed. Now they are working together in play and using those same skills towards small goals that hold massively high value to them. When my club participants walk into my room for the Magic the Gathering Club, they change. The same students who were in my classroom an hour before learning science or engineering with all the seriousness, enthusiasm, and concentration that deserves, now enter my room lighter, excited, and more socially playful than before. We have an hour and a half of competitive play where they work as teams, settle disputes, find friends who share their own niche interests, and let the weight of that day leave them in the process. I intentionally run this club every Friday because I know that after a long week of high pressure, I and my learners can look forward to spending our last hours in the school building, not having to worry about our grades, but being able to be in the same space we have spent hours living in, using those same skills in a lower pressure yet highly rewarding game. No one can thrive in a place where the environment around them is not welcoming or accepting of you. For some learners, mathematics comes easily. Reading is like breathing, and their art is understood and admired by those around them. Knowing where they belong in this school is easier. For some learners, succeeding academically is not as fluid, and they struggle to find the place where they effortlessly fit. If all they experience in this building and with these people is struggle, without that feeling of self-actualization, they might start to dread their weeks and all the things connected to this space, their teachers and their peers. Neither high or low-achieving learners are immune to this feeling of being alone in a world that they have no place in. I have seen students adrift. It is not something that I want to see more of. Many of these students have found anchors in athletics, clubs, and activities. In sports, they can thrive, and in the case of our school, often achieve state or national awards, where not only have they found a place to belong in this school, but have been recognized nationally for their excellence in it. Our creative problem-solving activities like Destination Imagination, Cooking Club, Baking with Baker, and Robotics Club have helped learners apply their academic skills in new ways and compete with creativity. When they leave a competition, they know that they have been to something real, competed against opponents who are trained and prepared, and have left with success to be proud of. I, as an adult, will never compete in a cooking club. I will never race to finish a robot faster and better than a team from another state. I myself will never test my problem-solving skills and imagination against another team while being judged by a panel of experts. Our students have, and they have won, and they thrived. Our band and drama students practice for hours, working as a team, each with responsibilities and knowledge of their role and the roles of the others. Each year, they set new bars for excellence, and each year they surpass them. I do not believe that they know how rare that is. When you participate in a club, it's easy to believe that it will go on forever. For most people, these experiences end with graduation. Adult bands and drama troupes exist, but not the same frequency as in school. Baseball, basketball, volleyball, tennis, soccer, pickleball, all these sports exist outside of school, but not nearly at the same frequency or openness as in here at this establishment at this time. Our school provides these opportunities to the best of our ability and strives to keep them available for as long as learners want them. Each of these opportunities is completely dependent on learner interest. In the years I have taught CMHS and mentored clubs, I have helped to start a handful of them. I tried to start a science STEM club called League of Mad Scientists. We would hopefully conduct experiments and design challenges that might not normally fit with the normal curriculum, but be awesome and very fun. The idea was sound, well-conceived, and advertised. I came up with it and was very proud of it. Participation was so low that the club failed and has never run again. Despite my desire to run this club, student interest was not there and did not support it. Hopefully it will in the future, but we'll wait a couple years. Conversely, the animation club was started by a learner who herself had few academic experiences, and it flourished as she found a club mentor and like-minded students found sanctuary in it. Animation Club is a highly student-driven club and has remained long after its learners' graduation with marked academic success. What is hard to convey is that clubs and activities are not here because adults want them to run. They are here because students want them to run. Magic the Gathering Club did not start because I wanted to play the game. It started because 3 middle schoolers asked Miss Lindstad if they could start the club, and I was willing to mentor it for them. I started Fishing Club with this in mind. My father and uncle spoke to me fondly about how they found success and belonging in their high school by participating in the hunting and fishing clubs. I know so many of my students who have loved their personal experiences hunting and fishing, but we did not offer any of these experiences at the school for them to share that interest. I started the fishing club tentatively to see if there was student support and to find out what the students wanted out of the club. It is open to all high school and middle school learners, but the main participants are the middle schoolers who want to learn how to fish or to help their friends learn. Half of our students have never fished before, and the other half have eagerly taken on the roles of instructors. My role for this club has been to enable them to find space safely together to share their knowledge. If they were not invested in the continuation of this club, they wouldn't have shown up. Clubs are not mandatory, and their participation informs the kinds of clubs we offer and how often they run. Because of this interest, the fishing club has grown from once a month in the first year to twice a month the last year, to every week, hopefully starting this next school year. I hold my club participants to high levels of sportsmanship, coach them through social interactions, help them understand the guidelines of the activities, and am constantly blown away by what they achieve with the support. The academic weight is off, they are still in school, and they are flying. I am a club mentor because there is value in this program. There is value in the work we do, and there is immeasurable value to the students these programs reach. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. I wanted to bring up teachers and those kind of things because I think, and again, maybe it's my past, but I only got into coaching, and coaching became more of my passion and my love than making really good money. And I think that the same thing could say about Cody Gadsby. And I got him to send me a little testimonial, even though I think he was on his honeymoon. But again, it's somebody that it helps him, and I can read it, but it helps him develop the relationships and the understanding of the students in the hallways and those kind of things, and be a part of, again, the whole community. He, again, is with National Honor Society. He does the student council. He's a soccer coach for the girls, an assistant soccer coach for the girls, and basketball. He's the JV coach for baseball. But again, it makes a difference, and it makes a difference for our students that our teachers are that involved and that they can go to them and feel a sense of pride, but also if there is any angst, that they know that there's somebody there that they can rely on. Again, I think that it also helps, and I will say that we recruited last year or hired a field hockey coach who is now a terrific teacher at JGS, but she was coming here first because she wanted to be our field hockey coach. And I think she's doing a terrific job as a teacher at JGS in Ashley Lingerman. But again, we found her first because she wanted to continue the passion that she has of giving back as a field hockey coach. And again, in other voices, this young man, he caught my attention when I reached out to him, but he caught my attention because he's a web leader. We asked the web leaders this year when they do the step up, the 5th graders were here on campus and they were in the Pratt, and we asked anybody that wanted to speak to the 5th graders about their experience and why they were web leaders. And Logan, his first thing was, hey, by the way, I tried basketball and it wasn't for me. You don't have to come here and just play basketball. You can do anything that you want. And again, and he also said while he was standing up there in front of a bunch of 5th graders, and I found out that I can do track and I'm really fast. Again, I reached out to obviously the parent of a now going to be 8th grader and asked for it. And the mom had this to say: "I'm so grateful for the activities and athletics provided by Conant. Seeing my son get the opportunity to try different clubs and sports is amazing. They get the experience of being a part of a group with common goals and interests. These will be lifelong learnings when being a part of a team, working together and succeeding, but also how to build relationship when losing the game. I have loved seeing my son come out of his shell when playing soccer and running track. He was a new kid. My other 2 children are eagerly awaiting the opportunities to participate in the variety of offerings provided by the school when they reach CMHS." For everybody's knowledge, and like I said, it might seem like a lot, or why are we doing these things? There is the goals, obviously, when we build a club. Yes, students here, they can find me, they find me easily, but when I talk to the principals and those kind of things, and when we set up our stipends and those things, everything across the board for the district, right? The number one thing is to always confirm an advisor or coach. But we're talking about 5 to 7 kids being interested. And we can talk about, and I'll get to like JGS, and we'll following the policy that we are not going to have cuts unless they're at the high school level for our athletics. But this obviously 5 to 7, and it's kind of interesting that Destination Imagination, they were doing this, you know, pre-rec for Destination Imagination to find 7 students. Well, 21 to 28 kids were showing up, right? And we were saying, oh no, they're really good at it, but now we have to cut, right? But that doesn't fit what we're trying to do. Our criteria is, if you do have the 5 to 7, that we should make sure that we have these clubs and activities and that we don't cut. And again, at JGS this year, they had the 3 programs. It was a success. And every kid got the same experience. And it wasn't one of those things like, hey, you know what? I can't do it next year. They know that they can continue in DI and they can get to the middle school and do it. And they can also do it at the high school level. If it's an introductory program, which some of our advisors do, you know, just kind of like Amanda said, you know, she came to me, what can we do? And we have to see the numbers that they are going to be there. But again, some of the introductory clubs and activities, especially at the grade school, are just allowing kids to find out. But same thing happened in the middle school this year, and there was a crafting group, right? And they just wanted to do it in the fall. They just wanted to be a part of something. And it was really especially great for 6th graders who really were trying to find their friend group as well. So then we can go through the long list. If you see MS, that means that it's just offered at the middle school. These are the ones for Conant Middle High School. If it doesn't have anything, it means that both schools have it for the high school. There are some, like the animation, that it has never been a problem that the middle school and the high school kids attend together. However, Dungeons and Dragons, it's a different group, right? So we have a middle school group of Dungeons and Dragons. They can't be in the same club as high school kids and their adventures in Dungeons and Dragons. So even though we have them, but again, there are certain ones that fall into those kind of categories. But like animation, art, exploration, we can have 6th graders and 12th graders in the same thing. And again, you guys can read them and where we're going with that. These are the new clubs that are coming towards us: the National Art Honor Society, the Chess Club, Disc Golf. That is huge. And when we did the fair, which we do a activities and athletics fair in the spring for the following year, so we know what we can do, what we're organizing, and teachers propose these ideas as well as students. Disc golf, again, probably be a huge thing for the community. Mr. Duggan has the whole plan and scope of those things, so that's going forward. The forum, that one, I have a testimonial where I actually have, and you can read it. The forum is, a student submitted it and I attached it. So at the end, if you guys want to look at his proposal and those kind of things, But if you read kind of the main idea, offer a new club for students to improve upon critical thinking, philosophical and rhetoric skills, and have thoughtful and constructive discussions. He's got a target audience. This past spring, he already has 8 people signed up, kind of like-minded, but you gotta love this. We would also like to create an environment of inclusivity to promote team building. Therefore, the club would be accessible to all high school students of any grade. So he was around a group, he was in class, presented it. Mr. Duggan would be the advisor that was talking to them and those kind of things. And that's how these things are formed. And clearly, it's geared towards, and he even says it to those students that think maybe they want their career into becoming lawyers and they want to make it a debate thing. They've also talked about doing the trivia, New Hampshire trivia things, those kind of things. So again, it's coming from student voice. And if you read his proposal too, one of the highlights though is, I really hope, I know it's going to be successful this year, but I really hope that there's funding, because I think that this club can go on for future years. And I bring that up because that is going to be the biggest question that so many kids still have. We've lost students right now that have left the school, that have withdrawn from the school. What is going to happen? But I say that and we'll get to the numbers as far as sports, but with the budget and everything, it seemed like in the spring more kids signed up for track than ever. And it was like, okay, well, if this is my opportunity, I better do track, but I want to stay with track. So I know those kind of things, but again, kids haven't stopped wanting what they think should be here as far as schools and their presentations and those kind of things. At the Jaffrey grade school here are those kind of things. I bring up Be Active in the mornings. Again, that's a collaborative that I run. It's been really highly successful with working with student teachers from FPU. Be Active is probably the only club that I've run that I actually have to not sign people up. Be Active at JGS. If I could get the people to volunteer and or if I could get the advisors for that, I could have filled 5 days a week for Be Active, and every group could have been 20 to 25. I had over 38 people signed up, but it's JGS gym, and if you've seen the gym, I hope all of you have. And I talk about that because, again, especially with young learners, and they say one of the best things for young learners is to be active, and especially if we can get them active in the morning, it provides that outlet so that they're ready and more focused for what they're doing. I know everybody's interested in test scores, but across the nation, if we could get everybody to do something in the morning, especially our young people at RMS and Jaffrey, it will help their test scores as far as math and those kind of things, because it really keeps them focused on what they're trying to do. And again, I feel bad, but I can't teach all 5 sessions, and I can't find enough FPU students to get up early in the morning. But Be Active is one of the popular ones at Jaffrey Grade School and RMS. Again, but as I said, Destination Imagination is huge. Drama, that has worked out really well. Drama, as you guys saw 2 years ago, and even this year, they joined the middle school in some of their productions and those kind of things. And then we have Ringes from student council, those kind of things. I meant to mention that, and I did with leadership, but every school obviously has a student council. And so those are big things for all of our young people throughout the district. As far as sports, I've listed them all. One of the highlights I will talk to you about is when you see something like fall middle school sports and it says volleyball club. I know some people have always said, again, why do we have to have so many people participating at the middle school level? Again, it is a sense of belonging. I want people to understand that you don't get that same sense of belonging from a travel team. You want to be here. I hear more and more about our baseball program when those caps go on in the spring, and everybody knows who the baseball people are. But again, it's a big thing to be a part of something at your school and not have to be on a travel. Why does it say volleyball club? This year, right now for middle school, I already have 16 girls signed up for the middle school club. We don't have, when I put in clubs and those kind of things, we don't have rec programs for these sports and they're varsity sports. So our numbers have gone up, especially at the middle school too. They're not traveling right now because they're just clubs, but we're allowing, and our coaches have done a phenomenal job of allowing that. It is happening with swim, it's happening with volleyball, it's happening with wrestling, that the middle schoolers can be a part of something, and they are our feeder group. And our numbers, when I show numbers as far as how did the numbers go up so much, Heather, in the winter for middle school, you're going to know. And it's because there are club programs. Again, they're not traveling, they're not doing anything, but again, they're participating and they feel like they're part of it, and they are our feeder groups. When I highlighted at the bottom, middle school registrations, we'll probably have a third team. People can ask me about that. I have already scheduled, and again, the more kids participating, it's just harder on me for scheduling purposes, but I think I can handle it. We have a co-ed, we will probably have a co-ed soccer team. We did it back when there was, when we had COVID and we had co-ed teams, but there are some schools like South Meadow School that I've already researched. They had sent a club team or co-ed team against us last year. It wasn't a problem, but there are teams in the vicinity, and so we will probably have too many for a roster for girls and boys, and those kids would probably be on co-ed team, and then they'll also get to participate in games. So I know people ask me about rosters and is everybody getting to play? We are going to build a schedule so that kids get the opportunity. They might not be playing on the big team, but we will have another team so that they can participate and be a part of something. As far as uniforms, we have plenty of uniforms. And so people will be all set with that too. So then I'm just kind of going through it, see the clubs and why middle school numbers are so big. But again, it keeps everybody busy. Last year, yes, we had 54 boys signed up for boys basketball at the middle school level. And we had 3 teams. The girls had 2. And again, it's getting kids involved and being part of it. And like Logan said in his testimonial, or said to the 5th graders, you know what, you can try it. And if you don't like it, you don't have to do it. But yeah, I had the opportunity, got the opportunity, and I've made a decision that what's more important to me, or what I like better, and what I'm going to be more successful in. If we create the atmosphere where they can't try it, then they'll just never know. And the same thing with another spring sport of tennis. We have a club program for the middle school. Our numbers for participation, I'll talk about it in 2025 for the high school. In the fall, we had 106. In the winter, we had 98. In the spring, we had 94, for a grand total of 298 kids. For our middle school participation, we had 85 in the fall. In the winter, we had 97 kids participate. In the spring, we had 80, for a grand total of 262. In total of clubs and all of our athletics, we had 794 participants, as what I want to call though opportunities. So 794 opportunities because somebody participated in it. If you take the total enrollment of grade 6 through 12 here at CMHS, it was about 650 this year. It just tells you, I hope that you understand that this is really making a difference, and it's what they want to be doing. They're creating these opportunities, and the numbers speak for themselves. If we create the opportunities because they've asked through student voice, then that's where it's at. And it keeps everybody safer, creates a better environment. It is going to make them better students academically because they're here, they want to be a part of this, and they feel the sense of community. And again, they're giving back to the community through all of their hours for community support. There's more testimonials that you guys probably could read, and those kind of things that, again, I took excerpts from them. Here's my kid Gabe, though, who was one of those kids that made sure they participated on the wrestling team. because his brother was doing it, but he's got friends now as high schoolers, right? He feels a sense of community and he feels that the safety of the school, maybe because his brother's there, but he also feels like he has something different. He's also a web leader, and he is another one that was speaking up that it made such a big difference for him. This is from one of our 3-sport athletes, Violet Bennett, just about what it means for her to be an athlete. The networking opportunities, did take her to a leadership conference. She was exceptional at that. But just what it's meant for her. And again, I think she says it in her own words, that she wouldn't be where she is if it wasn't for sports and what she is. On the left, we reestablished ice hockey. We hadn't had boys ice hockey in a couple of years, so we were back with that in the co-op. Wrestling for the first time ever. We had our first varsity year. The numbers are growing for tennis. The cheerleader, yeah, she looks young, but again, she was part of it. She doesn't go to the competitions with our high schoolers, but she's learning, and that is part of our feeder program because there's nowhere else. We don't have a football program. We don't have, youth football in the area, so there's nothing to cheer for. So they're here and they're participating, and it gives them a sense of what they want to do. And obviously it's part of our feeder group. Next, I have a little video. And the reason I stole this video is because sometimes people don't understand it's coming from me, and it's Heather Lindstedt, but I just wanted to prove, or I'm not proving it, but show that every community, it should work.
No, because it's a PDF, it wasn't linked in separately.
The
So can
new one was working.
Oh, okay, so, but there's still I can send that to.
The new one that I sent today.
Right, but then I made a PDF on the thing.
Oh.
This is a static document?
Live link.
Got it.
Hold on.
So, give us-
Yep. Okay.
I'll exit this for a second, just to pick it up.
Heather, can I take the second to ask a question?
Go ahead.
You said 650 kids, middle school and high school participated. Is
That's our enrollment.
that's our enrollments?
The 794 opportunities.
Okay, so some
our
of those
total-
kids are
our total
counted.
for, right, so that's why I call it an opportunity,
Yeah,
right?
gotcha.
So, but out of 650, right, so even if we double up a few of them, right, we're talking about more than probably about 60%, 65%.
And that includes all the charter school and homeschool kids who participate as well, right?
Yep.
Just sent you an email, Rupert. Sorry, I realized there was a live link. Okay, that's what.
So just so I understand, if I were to look at high school, you have 106 participants in the fall.
Yep.
Middle school has 85. I add those together. That's 191 out of the 650. Is that correct?
So I did the total for fall, winter, spring, if you go across, so,
No, I was just talking
Oh.
about fall.
yep, go ahead.
If I were to
Yep.
look, I have an enrollment of 650.
Mhm.
I have 106 high school and I have 85 middle school.
Yep.
Opportunities. So together that's 191 opportunities
And then,
out of 650.
but then I added clubs, which would be, they sign up at the beginning of the year, so it was 234. Clubs and opportunities. Clubs and activities.
How much are the clubs again?
Last year, 234.
234. So you,
Let me put on my glasses again. Yep.
okay, so the 191 plus 234.
And the clubs, for the most part, Charlie, are year round. For the middle school. high school.
425 out of 650. Is that what sounded about right? Okay. Thank you. Oh, I did have one other question.
Yep.
I don't know if you're gonna touch on it or not. I just wanted to know how much use the late bus gets.
is there a hyperlink on the video?
I just sent your presentation to Ruby. Is that hyperlink in the presentation?
In
No.
my presentation is.
No. No, the box is there, but it's not linked.
Yeah,
So you have yours.
Sure.
Find it?
No.
Nope, but
Okay.
we're gonna, this over here.
Expediency.
Little pop-ups and.
I don't have. Should work. It's not working. When will it work? Well, I won't keep it, the reason I used it, again, because some people.
Themselves.
Yeah.
Here's the,
Athletes, coaches.
you can do it without this.
By Capital One. Please welcome Grammy Award-winning singer, songwriter, and entrepreneur.
Well, that's the whole thing, so you don't want to listen to the whole thing.
Roots have come to California, who decided she needs to do so.
Okay.
We were starting a journey together. One where I learned just as much from her as she ever did from me.
Sorry.
Mia is why the Sloan Stephens Foundation exists. And there are hundreds of other kids like her in Compton, in South Florida, and now
You can share with us your.
Yep, I'm gonna share it. So, I'm huge, obviously, into athletics and sports and stuff. I was watching the ESPYs, and they couldn't have said it any better. Sloane Stevenson, is a professional tennis player, fabulous at what she does, but she has a foundation. She even mentions in this that seeing this one girl, Mia, who she sent off to college and who got a scholarship, has grown into something bigger than even she thought. They now work on literacy and they even have esports teams. Imagine that, through her foundation. What I wanted to say is, but people don't realize it, and maybe because it's coming from me or it's coming from the school board or any of those kind of things. It's across the country. We have something that other people are seeking and trying to find. How do we get to these students? And we have it. This is how we reach our students. This is how we reach them. This is how we give them more. This is how we get them to get the education that they want and or deserve, is through these kind of things. Different learning processes, different things that we're doing. So when you listen to it, it was just unbelievable. And I believe the things happen for a reason. So as I was listening to this thing, I said, that's it. Sloane Stevenson saying the same thing that I would like to say, right? But we have it, and we have it here. So that is, I just want to round it off and saying that I know what we've done. I understand that people think maybe we're doing too much, but we're not. And this is what the students need, and they're asking for it, and they are being creative in what they know to be beneficial for them and for their futures. And again, the last slide of this presentation is, you can read the full length. I couldn't get that to work, but you can copy and paste it into your browser, and you can read all of the full length testimonials, because I don't want people to think that I just cut out the good stuff and made my presentation work, right? They're all there so that you can read them, right? Of what they're saying and what's happening. I know that I say this all the time. I'm not sitting here if it wasn't for athletics for me, right? I found my voice. I found everything through that. But the reason I really sit here is because of my passion to give back to students through clubs and activities in sports. And so that is what I'm trying to highlight, is what they can do because it can just make such a huge difference. So I thank you. I'm sorry it ran a little bit long, but I wanted to make sure that I represented the students and the teachers as well as I could of how important it is.
I would just like to point out that you're actually better off without the video embedded in the presentation, because that might get us tagged when we post it on YouTube. Yeah, another link to something you don't know happy with. Okay, so distribute it to the board separately, that'd be great.
And you could not have said it better than that. So Sloan Stevens couldn't have beat that. Sorry. No, that was phenomenal. Thank you so much for taking the time with us. You put in so much work. You've got so much information, and we've always been grateful for the amount of work that you put into this and the investment you do above and beyond. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do you guys have questions? Comments?
I echo everything you said, and Heather does an absolutely fantastic job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just say I think it's phenomenal. The amount of inclusion, the amount of response to what students have asked for. Thank you.
Christian?
Yeah, I have a comment and a question. I think the way you started it off and then, proceeded to back up was like, this is what makes us unique, right? I think it's important, as we go into this season where we're going to be justifying as we do every year, justifying all of our expenses for people to understand really what everything is and what the value is. So I think you did a good job in explaining that. But I will say it does become a conversation, in the community, like what makes us unique can be used in another way, as a negative. And that, I know I personally hear it all the time. Well, school X doesn't do this, school Y doesn't do this. So I think it's very important to have this information as to why we do this. And yeah, maybe I don't know. I don't know what other schools do. I admit it, but I believe it when I see the number of opportunities that we have, and I'm very aware of that. So, I look at it as a board member. If it makes us it's a real differentiator, right? It does make us unique, I think.
Well, I think, Chris, listening to student voice, they know better. I bring up esports because of Nintendo Club, right? Esports right now, we were ahead of it because we started a Nintendo Club with nobody else. The NHIA now, it's a sport. Esports falls under the NHIA umbrella. So I don't think anybody saw that coming, right? So it's being governed by the same people that govern our field hockey, our basketball, and everybody like that. Right around 300 colleges and universities across the country have esports programs, and over 200 of them give scholarships. It's the easiest scholarship. I shouldn't say that the most growing scholarships for anything, even beyond athletics, because athletics now has gone off the rails as far as scholarships for sports, because if everybody knows now we're just paying athletes. But if you want to go to a school and you're not an athlete, and you've been part of an esport program at your high school, or been on the Nintendo Club, there's scholarship opportunities. So right in line with how many scholarships that kids can get for First Tech Robotics. So I guess that is what I was trying to say, and especially with Sloan's statement is other people are searching for what we already have. We've really we've built it, and I just think that we should, for the students, they've built it. You guys have approved it. We just need to keep it rolling, and figure it out.
And I think long term, that'll be, to me anyways, will be especially important, because I think in New Hampshire, if you look at taking the lead of the legislature, right, they kind of tried this year to make school choice a thing. I think the legislation clearly wasn't that thought out, but we're, headed in that direction. So things that we can do to differentiate that students and parents will look for. I think it's very important for us to be forward thinking like that. And I see that as part of the equation. So I guess that's my comment there. And as far as, not to get back to budget stuff, and I don't want you to answer the question right now, but what I'm definitely interested in, and again, with the board, is figuring out, like, I know, right, I coach, I use our facilities. I know that we have needs, financial needs. It does take money to run some of these programs. And I'm interested, as we go forward, to be able to understand maybe what our priorities are. I don't know whether that'll fall in with maybe the kind of facilities committee requests, but and we don't need to get into specifics, but I think as we look forward into next year, I think there are definitely some needs that we'll need to prioritize, and certainly, maybe not be everything, but for us to understand that, I think will be important.
Well, I think, and I already, when it's needed, I do have ideas of how, just similar to what I said, like already thinking about the soccers, right? And making sure that we have co-ed teams and those kind of things. And again, forward thinking, you know what, we were successful during COVID and creating kind of an inter squad scrimmages and those kind of things. So some of those numbers, probably we become more like colleges, right? And have really strong, for some of it, we're gonna have to have really strong intramural programs, and they get to play against each other. As far as those kind of things, right? So if we have to build some of this stuff and there are opportunities, especially at the middle school, to play against each other, we can create those kind of opportunities.
I think it's interesting. I was just scribbling. I like to scribble. And you mentioned budget, and let's just take the figure of $30 million in a school budget. So we are here at school, kids come to school, teachers come to school, people who work in the SAU and in our education system come to school. We're here about 6.5 to 8 hours a day. And social studies, math, science, STEM, art, etc. And that in the budget, there's pockets of obviously different categories. We know student services, transportation, all of that. But that, when we think about school, when we think about that, that's the out of 30 million, that's 98% of where we're spending our funds. And then we have the second half of the day, and you mentioned you coach and actually a sport that goes late. So like tennis or track or obviously these basketball teams, people who are working with these kids during that time frame and long hours after school each and every day. There's this all right, here's the first part of the day, then there's that second part of the day. And as you stated, Heather, that second part of the day means an awful lot for a lot of people, and for a wide array of reasons we don't need to go into, from just challenging them, keeping them safe, giving them a sense of belonging, what have you. And that's roughly 2% of the budget. So you have like 700,000 roughly, maybe 2.33%, of that money is spent on that second half of that kind of 12-hour day for these kids. So the first part costs a lot. This part, which does also impact a lot, maybe in some cases more, but I think they go together. I wouldn't pit one against the other, but it is interesting for all of this, where this is 2% and it's accomplishing a lot in the lives of these children.
Can I just make a comment that I've often thought the same thing about school lunches?
Yeah.
Least expensive part of the day in a way. You consider the importance of feeding our kids.
Chris?
I just have one more thing, and I think that one of those things that does make it unique is that inclusivity. And one thing that I didn't see on here, and I'll be honest, I'm not familiar with what we offer, but I know that other schools do, is that unified sports programs. Is there what do we have currently, or is that something that is that an opportunity to expand that?
We used to have unified sports, and then I was working with Jen Horn, and we just haven't had the numbers in the last couple of years to facilitate it. So again, if there's the students, and 2 years ago we were doing a lot of recruiting. We were recruiting the students, talking to teachers and advisors, and we just didn't have we don't have the numbers or the interest to get it going. Because clearly that was a big thing. Again, that's leadership and the mentorship and bringing things together. So it's been the last 2 years, we have not had a team. And I think in talking to Jen, though, that things are gonna change, and I think that changes, Chris, with a lot of things,
Yeah.
right? You know, in sports, right? You have big classes of athletes, right? Like
And I think that that's something, and I know we've done in the past, like,
Yep.
for even currently do for hockey and things like
Right.
that, right? Is that an area where if we don't have numbers,
Yep,
you know, there could be a partnership. Just
correct.
something to think about, because I think it's, you know, we don't want to certainly exclude anyone.
Nope, and again, we've recruited, we did a lot of, I did a lot of work with the teachers and again, the students and asking and those kind of things and speaking with Jen Horn. We just haven't had the interest, I guess, yet, or whatnot, but certainly, again, it is about the students and if we can find them.
I wanted to ask, what is your staff? So there's transportation and scheduling and mentoring and training and a myriad of other pieces. What is your, how much do you do? How much can you delegate? How many, like, what's the administration of all this look like? Do you really do it all by yourself?
Okay, well, we have an athletic trainer who's gonna handle athletic training.
Perfect.
That's
That's what I want to know. Yeah.
Last year, in the last 2 years, Ruben has allowed me to use a college intern, is that right? Who has been part-time.
Okay.
So it will, gives like 15 to, I don't think they've ever passed more than 20 hours per week on what they can do. Obviously, they're going to school and those kind of things. So yes, it's me. And then Karen does everything as far as with David and as far as writing the checks and the stuff like that.
Right, the finance office.
Yep. Yep. Karen is those. Yep.
So Heather, when my girls were younger, when they were still at grade school, I remember thinking about middle school and how they would be involved. And how few clubs and sports there were. I mean, I actually sort of counted how many different ways they could be involved. And I was like, okay, well, they're engaged in other things outside of school, and that's okay. But in the 6 years since, or 7 years since they've entered and then graduated, so many programs have started in so many different ways for kids to be involved. It's amazing to me. And even though maybe they weren't, they were involved in so many clubs and in so many different ways, and it amazes me. And one of my children has gotten pretty significant scholarships without doing a school sport since I think 7th grade. And those were academic clubs. Like, we are canceling her student loans for this year because of the scholarships. That's huge, right? I mean, it's something we need to celebrate. It shouldn't be knocked down. It should be like, okay, sports are fantastic. School sports are amazing. But there's other things too, and there are paths forward.
Correct. And well, I mean,
But I will say, as someone who really didn't know the story behind any of this, I'm really glad to see that there is a process that everything goes through and it's very organized, and that, people aren't just pulling things out of the sky, and that we track the numbers and see the benefit. And I can now see how well it's run and how much makes sense. But as someone just looking at, documents flying by, you kind of say, what's this? And I'm like, just like the general public would feel.
Mhm.
So it's good that you were able to say your piece and your video be viewable online, so that, other people, can be, shown the value of this and where their money's going, because that end of the day is so important to keep you going and to keep this, going year to year. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and again, I appreciate the students and the parents or coaches in those expressing it, right? Because they're the ones that benefit as, you know what I mean? Nobody knows really that, we have a game crew, but you know what? It benefits them immensely to be a part of sports and those kind of things, and to
write about that in essays, scholarship essays, and have that be like, this might be something I would pursue as an adult, right? This is an amazing opportunity to develop their individuality and their focus that they may not get at a different school. It is what makes us unique.
Well, just like a Jaden Broughton, right?
Right.
Like, she did everything. I have no idea how she did everything. She is taking the summer off. I had to speak to her and she's like, yeah, I'm taking the summer off. I'm not doing a thing. I said, okay. But again, she was always involved, but, I will tell you that it's about student voice. And again, maybe more at the grade schools, but like I said, even when parents hear about like the Be Actives and those kind of things, and they're very happy to have their kid be a part of something.
Can I just also comment that it is amazing that we are able to fit all of these sports and clubs in these small buildings. And I know we can only do this in partnership with our Parks and Recs programs, being able to use Humiston Field for baseball, 2 middle school baseball teams, right? And community field, that's the town of London. I'm not sure about community field, but anyway, and then Parks and Recs uses our facilities for basketballs programs, and clearly we are maxed out, right? We need more. This isn't the year to be talking about that, but we need to look forward to a time when we can build our own baseball field. And, maybe a bigger gym or something along those lines, but an improved track because it's in horrible condition. We need to start putting our money where our values are as a community. At some point in time.
Can I just add to that about 8 or 9 months ago, Christine came up with a suggestion that there are other communities in the state that are using public-private partnerships to try and address some of these things. Our communities are pretty proud of our sports teams, and maybe some members of the business community might say, we'd like to see a baseball field that was owned by the district or a improved facility over near the track. And I think that was a great idea, Christine. I know we've mentioned it to the selectmen. There's been no further action on it at this point. We've had a lot of other things on our plate, but I think it's something we should continue to pursue.
An auditorium. Think about that. Oh, how we can dream.
Heather, I really, really want to thank you. This is tremendous. I know it's going to get a lot of hits online. And you did a fantastic job putting this together. And we might even get more comments and questions coming in, and we'll send them along to you. Amanda, thank you for coming and speaking, and everybody who provided testimonial, gorgeously done. And thank you for sharing all this with us. That's so valuable for us. So thank you. Yeah. All right. I think we're going to move on to our superintendent's report. All right. And you're welcome to stay, Heather, but you do not have to.
Sorry.
It's your chance. It's your opportunity right now. Go. Oh, I stayed for your presentation.
Yeah, it's good.
All right. So, my report is going to be talking about end of year finances just a little bit. Federal funds update. We started talking about that last time we met. Information regarding the public hearing. It really goes all together. And then a little update on something we've been working on for a couple of years and trying to get off the ground. And we've had success in years past with partnerships in the community for after-school programming. We're at it again and wanted to provide you an update as to where we are with that and the likelihood of moving forward with these partnerships. So you will receive something more official at your next school board meeting. There are some potential changes that could take place with that fund balance, unassigned fund balance of $1,297,732, which would allow for us, if the board so chooses, to, before the public hearing, to retain up to the complete amount of $1,158,242. So there is a possibility that a couple of other invoices will come in, maybe in the area of student services, but apart from that, we're looking like we're pretty okay. And that means that we would have an opportunity to give roughly, if this number stays static, 140,000 back to the community. Now, that is after, as we stated last time, being able to fund the Maintenance Reserve Trust Fund and that of 400,000 and 50,000 for the Student Services Trust Fund to get that to the level that we believe it needs to be at, which is really the cost of one major out-of-district placement or two moderate out-of-district placements in case something of an emergency like that took place. Had a lot of people move in or something to that effect that needed that type of support. So this is good news. We had started very early, just being very, very tight with our spring, how we and also tracking the money very closely and what was open for purchase orders, what was, what types of projects were happening or not happening or could not happen, because we did have some goals, and some of those goals were to be able to, once the budget did not pass, was to be able to retain what we could, but also to be able to fund those other areas, such as the Building Maintenance Reserve Trust Fund, which was going to be a key aspect to all of this.
And I guess just to remind people that, don't follow it as closely as we do, both of those designations for those funds were on the ballot, on the warrant this March and approved.
Yes.
So this isn't a board decision, it was a board recommendation, and then the voters voted to do that.
And then internally, we just worked to get it there. And it was good. And we think that's important. So that's just an update. That's going to be important information as you go into the public hearing on August the 4th. You might want to be able to understand, or be able to, you probably do understand, but to express to individuals what it means when the community voted for the school board to be able to retain up to 5% of the net assessment, not just like acronyms, right? Or any sort of shorthand. We are using language that not everyone utilizes or uses on a regular basis. And so I think this will also be part of all of that. Just in short, the net assessment is if we take away all of the revenue that you get. So whatever revenue comes in from the state for adequacy aid or anything like that, which is several $1 million. Once you take away any revenue and only look at what the local tax assessment and swept the statewide tax, which also is raised locally. So those two together make up your net assessment. and then it's 5% of that. So our net assessment for this past year was 23,164,848. You multiply that by the 5%, or if you were using a calculator, 0.05, then you'd get 1,158,242, which is what the board has the ability to retain. And then, of course, the public hearing possibly be able to utilize that for this upcoming school year. The next topic is federal funds. As we really not a whole lot has changed. I have a meeting tomorrow. I have to put a document into the grant management system into the state, but I need to meet with a new principal from one of the private schools in the area who was interested in knowing more about the funds that he and his school could access, which other schools in the area are able to access title funds like Title 2A, which is professional development. Now, no one's accessing that right now because it has not been provided. It's hung up at the federal level. Title 4, same story. But student services was what we're talking about tomorrow. So IDEA grants, those funds may be interested in sharing some of those costs, not costs, but those funds for their own school. So we have to make sure we have those conversations and partnerships with people once we have that done. And if they either deny that we don't want those services or we want them, they have to sign and check off which decision they want. So then we send that in, and then the grant funds come our way. We've done that for the Title 2A and the Title 4, but we're not getting those funds anyway. So not as of right now anyway. Hopefully they will come. We did, however, I think this is kind of exciting. And if you recall, I presented, I don't know, a couple times at the beginning of last year, we were going after a grant with about 5 other districts within the state of New Hampshire. And this was a safe and supportive schools grant. It's a federal grant. It was a 5-year grant to be able to get more supports within our schools. And so the idea was, if we were going to look at the purpose of this, was to increase and retain the number of credentialed mental health service providers providing school-based mental health services to students with demonstrated needs. LEAs is just a word for our school. We're an LEA, local education association or agency, sorry. So the grant was supposed to provide us funding for to embed clinical supports in our schools for 5 years. That still could take place for 4 years. We don't know yet. We have to wait. So we have this performance period, which is January of 2025. At that time, the federal grants were halted, and so we did not get it at that point in time. So we're just hearing about it now. And then through this December 31st, 2029. Well, the funds the budget period was January 1st, 2025, this whole year. We just got the information that we are going to be awarded $275,000, and that end of the budget, the 2025 December 31st date, that is the end. So we have 4 months. So we're not going to be able to do exactly what we would have envisioned doing with that grant for the first year. And we believe that there's a chance of getting the next 4 years and having more funds provided to us afterwards, which we hope to then do what we actually indicated we wanted to do. There are a couple different pieces of this. That said, it does come at a time when we have some fiscal tightness. And so in talking with the Department of Education and the one member left out of the 5, the other 4 were I'm not talking about the districts, but the people working in this department. Yeah, there's one person left administering this. That individual has stated that we are permitted to use it for retaining staff. And so we will be looking at ways to use these funds in a way to help enhance our current programming and to also maintain our current programming, which will help us with this year's budget, which is good.
Can you give us some insight into how that might work? It's a lot of money and 4 months is a short time.
Sure. Well, so there's personnel. So if we have, for instance, we contract with some individuals to come and work with our school counselors, preschool all the way through 12. They're outside of this district. We could pay for those services through this grant.
Okay.
We could actually pay for one of our employees through this grant for the year. So
Now, can you do?
if they are licensed,
Okay.
they have to be licensed. So they have to be a licensed clinician, which we do have individuals who fit into that category in the area of mental health. We also, because we are a school, the reason why we were able to get into this grant, because we had some success putting MTSSB in place. MTSSB is multi-tiered systems of support for behavioral wellness. So it's a process. It's an approach to working with kids at whatever level of need that they exhibit at the time. So frustration, their level and fine, or what have you. You know, it's keeping them in class and motivated and making sure that their needs are met, and that they also learn proper social skills to be able to work with other kids and work collaboratively and work with their families and so forth in the community. So we do have some programming that exists that we could subsidize a little bit. We also have some ability to pay for teachers to get together to look at and analyze data and develop better programming or stronger programming than what currently exists. So a better way to say that would be enhance the work that we're already doing. And then, you know, like $7,500 for supports or practices, that could be curriculum. It could be some professional development, perhaps. That could happen. And since Title II-A, which is where we put most of our we take most of our professional development out of, since that does not exist, this is an avenue to help us be able to recoup some of that. And then hopefully I'll be reporting to you by December that we have the next 4 years, $1 million for this grant going forward.
It's really exciting
yeah.
that they can be that flexible. I didn't expect that when I saw that.
Yeah, the retaining, because of the retainage, retaining, it's an increase and retain. Now increasing, if we do get this grant, we have Franklin Pierce University, we have Antioch, we have other places in the area that we might be able to partner with because, for instance, FPU has just put in maybe a year, maybe 2 years, a clinical mental health master's degree. And Antioch, of course, we've had partnerships with in the past. We've had presentations in the past when we, prior to COVID, when we had a very robust relationship with them, working with our families and our community and with our families inside the school as well. So. Public hearing information. So really nothing has changed. If these are the numbers that we presented in the beginning, some of it, I put a note on the side that the personnel here has changed. So this is the number that we discussed, or we left that meeting in the springtime saying, yeah, we want to move forward with these. All of the athletics. I say all the athletics. There are pieces of the athletic cut that we did not bring back, or the co-curricular cut that we did not bring back. That has to do with more with personnel in the areas of fields and grounds and the support for the cleaning within the facilities of those areas, the part-time staff. So we do have to watch that very closely. We do have some plans to try to do the most important things so that this continues to go on the way it needs to. But there's about 150,000 or so that was still removed from this. And then we have the music teacher was what was voted on. That music teacher has since gone to in another direction, but also after looking at schedules, it was determined that the better use of those funds was to make sure that the elementary schools were kept as whole as possible. And so to not go with, we had already taken away technology from both elementary schools positions. So to take the librarian and have both library media specialists in both schools, keep those there for this year. None of this, by the way, will be in the default budget. Then you have the French teacher and the pre-K teachers and para educators, which together comes in a little under $400,000 for, again, a program that a lot of schools don't have. Most don't within the state of New Hampshire, but it's a feather in the cap of this district. And it is something that will, if we are going to be patient, will yield results in the years to come. The research on early childhood learning, early quality childhood learning has a payoff, but it's a long time down the road payoff. Usually a 15-year down the road payoff.
Can I ask
For the community?
quick question?
Yes.
You have written down athletics, but should that say athletics and co-curriculars? Because athletics is not that entire line item, is it?
So we kept some of the co-curricular within the budget. And so this is the 50,000 out of the roughly 100,000 or so that we removed from the co-curricular line.
Okay.
And so athletics is purely middle school, high school sports, and that includes your coaches as well as the referees. Referees, quite a line. That's mostly for high school athletics, and then transportation. Transportation's a bulk of your costs when you come to anything that you're going to do. Traveling wise, of course, is going to require that type of cost. And there's obviously some personnel costs in there. Oh, also within that athletics line is the athletic trainer.
Okay.
And then the last thing is just a update. You saw it perhaps in the Ledger. There was a front page article on the town of Jaffrey and their work with trying to get this after school program going. We did have a soft kind of start last spring. It was very slow, so we said, all right, let's put it off for a little while, try to start it in the beginning of the year. They had about 20. I met with John Frederick this morning. We had, I guess a week ago, they had 20 learners signed up for that. Our target is 50. We'd like to see that. We believe we can get there. It probably can go higher than that, but right now we think that a good target is 50 learners. And we don't have the staff, or they don't have the staff for more than that at this point in time. We'd have to think beyond that if they did get more than 50. But they were at 20, and they are thinking, the current thinking is there's still some decisions that have to be made, and it's the town's decision. But is that if they can get to 30, that would be a good place to start and go from there. After advertising this over the weekend, they had 8 more sign up. We are going to advertise this a couple times on our Facebook page. The towns are going to do that as well. John Frederick stated that he would be letting parents know, or the community know, next Monday if this is going to run or not run. So our part is to be good partners. We're not going to fund this with any district money. We will donate space for the program, and we will seek some Title IV programming. Title IV is difficult. We have it. We have access to Title IV, but it's for extracurricular types of things typically, but but it has to fit into categories of well-rounded students, safe and secure kind of situations, so safety, and then technology. And you got to kind of weave all your funds together to get a grant proposal. And so startup funds for something like this, you don't want to do it every year, but if you could get startup funds for something like this, that would be a good use of it. what should happen after that is if you start up funds, there are other after school funds you could go for, but they're right now part of that big federal freeze. So we do have last year's Title IV funds that we can utilize to see if we can get some of that used for startup costs for this.
So you need two more to get to your.
We need 2 more learners to get to 30. And then we also, as a partner with the town, and we've said that we will work with our other partners. Certainly the Rotary Club is involved and is a partner of the town and the school, but also Franklin Pierce University. We are going to, it's hard to get them up in the morning, but maybe we can get them in the afternoon. We have had success before when we were able to get that partnership with the camp down the road many years ago. The Franklin Pierce students were the ones who really made that program feasible. So there are ways of working with them. And so I presented with Joan Swanson last year about opportunities, this and other opportunities just for the school and for the middle school and so forth, and other types of programming. But this would be one opportunity that they could have for their to meet their requirements for not professional development, community service. Thank you, community service.
You're gonna probably consider your Interact Club as a potential source.
Yeah, I think if we could get high school interactors involved as well, that would be great. I do think they would like to have some 20+-year-olds. Having a good mix would be fantastic. Yeah.
All right, any questions, comments?
This is so not to be abstaining.
Oh.
All right, so we're gonna move on. Thank you so much for that, Ruben. I would like to just note on on that second slide, if you
Yeah.
could just go back
Want me
to
to
that
pull
real
that
quick,
up?
yeah. Just a quick note, as a reminder, because I know we can talk about it later. Here's your slide. So August 4th is our hearing. That is going to be happening at 6:30 p.m. And we will be advertising the space that we're going to be having that in. It is open to the public. Public will be invited to speak. And at that meeting, the board will be voting on the unassigned fund balance and utilizing it for what we had budgeted for. So to help us prepare for that also, I'm going to be hosting a non-meeting Facebook Live event next Monday, August 28th.
July 28th.
At 6:30.
July 28th, yes.
July 28th. I'm just checking that it's the 28th, not Tuesday, but Monday. So next Monday night, Facebook Live on the Jaffrey-Rindge Facebook page to kind of go over the history of where we came to in the last 6 months and what to expect on Monday night and where the money has been gotten from and where the money is intending to go. And so just kind of open it up to a more, I don't know, I'm hoping it'll be a non-threatening way for the public to be able to come in and just hear the message, but also be able to ask questions and comment in that forum. So I'll be hosting that next Monday night at 6:30, and that will be advertised on the Facebook page and on the website. Cool. All right.
I'll plan on being there.
I would appreciate that very much. Thank you, John. All right. Let's move on to the consent agenda. We have manifests, we have payroll, nomination of Lindsay Hayden, CMHS High School English teacher. Awesome. We have a donation from Blackbaud Giving Fund for Conant High School in the amount of $500. We have our active stipend list. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Thank you, Charlie. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Judy. And any discussion on the consent agenda? Yes, Charlie?
Yeah, question about the $500 for Conan.
Okay.
Where will that be going then?
All right. Ruben, would you be able to answer that? Do we know yet?
I don't have that information about where it will go, but I can get that information for you.
Okay.
There was a $400 donation provided on July 1st for Conant Middle High School for athletics. That was I was able to accept that because the policy allowed me, but that was again from a member of the
Kendra.
community. Kendra?
Kendra had for the t-shirt
Yep.
too.
Yep. But this one,
Okay.
I have less information on.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Abstain? Thank you. Passes 700. Next, we have the minutes for the July 7th meeting. Is there a motion to accept the minutes?
I move we accept the minutes for July 7th as presented.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Christine. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Passes 700. Are there any action items? Okay, cool. I'm gonna call up a document and I'm gonna ask you for your screen in a moment.
I know I can't answer the question, but you gotta read each one of these.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, Kathy.
Are you going to read?
Yes, this will be long. We don't read the entire thing out. That's okay. So, hang on. Get up on the screen. Okay. May I have your? So back in March, I believe, was passed Ed 306 and many of its subsidiary documents. This was I'm going to make this larger now. So this Ed 306 focused on, come on, be nice. Focused on minimum standards for education. And in overhauling that, it's taken some time for the Department of Education to kind of complete the language so that the policy services we subscribe to through the New Hampshire School Board Association, their policy services goes through an exhaustive process with lawyers and interns and all kinds of things to be able to look at all of the policies that we work with and update them. Many of the policies that we use are needed for our student and for our learner and staff handbooks. And those get updated before kids come back to school. And so we really need to act on these as soon as possible. They only very recently became available. And if anybody had read Ed 306 when it was going through the House and the Senate, you would know that it really touches on nearly every single aspect of schools in one way or another. It was huge. And so 90% of the policies I'm about to go through with you are very little bit of language changes, but really involving trying to bring in, if you notice the first paragraph that I'm on, one of the sentences in the middle, student achievement will be measured by achievement of competencies rather than seat time, age, or even siloed courses. Although academic standards are still established by the state, locally established competencies will become the foundation for public schools and more specifically for graduation requirements. A lot of the policies I'm about to show you involve high school graduation competencies. So there was a lot of small language changes that really spoke to this drive and this move toward a more growth mindset rather than the letter grade mindset from decades ago. So this was a really big overhaul. And so I wanted to put in this summary document, and I will share that with you guys. This is just what I put together to make sure I could speak coherently tonight on all this. And And I'm not going to read all of this summary. This summary was at the beginning of the summary that I shared with all of you before. And many of the changes, I will read this piece. Finally, many of the changes to the 306 rules changed the number, but didn't change the rule. So the policy content might not be that impacted. So what I did is I went through the summaries of all of the policies that we are looking to change. All of the policies that we're talking about tonight are required by law. There are many policies that were shared and changed that are both recommended or simply optional. The policy committee at our next meeting in early August will be looking at those recommended and optional policies to bring many of them forward in the future. Many of them we do have, and there's many that we really want to have. But for right now, we really have to get these priority law-abiding policies on the books for our handbooks and for our just general stuff. So let's go forward. All right. The first policy I will highlight as I go, and I will make them larger. Okay. In Ed 306, they define school property, meaning that we had to change some of the language.
I have to move because I can't see this presentation. So it's hard to.
All right. So policy EBD is on school safety, and pretty much all they did was define school property. EBCH, chemical safety, chemical hygiene. They revised the policy to reflect requirements embedded in the chemical hygiene plan and a template for an annual audit. So EBCH is the plan, and the template is EBCH E1, a plan template. All right, they corrected some language and specifically in inactive phone numbers. So right now they have the date of when these phone numbers are accurate to, and we'll just have to keep up on that, but they're accurate to mid-May right now. IHBH, extended learning opportunities. Sorry for the okay, so I'm just gonna highlight as I go here. Okay, so this is required for high schools, so it needs to be included for us, and we definitely use extended learning opportunities. And there were substantial changes to it in light of mandatory graduation requirements. So that's what that language is. Okay. I don't think I really need to say more on that. IBHI, alternative learning plans, is pretty much exactly the same. Alternative learning plans, much like ELOs, involve graduation requirements. And so some of that language was changed in there for IBHI. IHCA, again, it is required for middle and high schools. It's a summer activity sample policy to accommodate the rule requiring schools to have career readiness in part of their language and part of their summer training opportunities. Right? Additionally, an optional provision has been added to the sample to allow schools to enumerate the summer programs they may offer. That was just language they added. Okay. IJ, instructional resources and instructional resources plan. This was modified from the previous iteration of the same rule. It requires the board to require each school to comply, and the rules requirement for a plan for ongoing review of the resources. So before it was recommended, now it is priority required. So I'm not sure, I'm not sure we have this, but it was recommended, so now it's required, so we're adding it if we didn't have it. IK, earning of high school credit, achievement of competencies. Okay, this one involves the rescission of IKAA and 2 other policies as well. So you'll see that we are rescinding some policies when we go through the process. Really, they did a lot of consolidation. So the people who worked on this did an incredible job, actually, of taking into account not just the new law, but really looking at repetitive laws, repetitive policies that we have, and making those overhauls. So they did a great job consolidating and just clarifying. So this is one of those situations where they've taken a few policies and we're able to incorporate the law with clarity. IKB is on homework. Ed 306 created some definitions of timelines and how much it can happen. And so that language is updated for this. So it's stuff that we have to be looking at and make sure is in the handbooks. Some of these policies, like these were, when I passed them on to the board earlier in full, I asked Ruben to pass it on to the admin right away, because there's pieces like this policy where the principals are going to need to look at this policy carefully and say, this is what we want in the handbook. This is how we want this to read. So in cases, as much as we need to get these on the books right now, you should know I am recommending these as first reading tonight. And so that at the next one, that will give the admin a few more weeks to really fine tune. I don't feel personally that they need to be exactly as written. We could pass a policy that says this policy is going to go forward as intended, and then allow the principals to fine tune it without changing the intent of the law. But I'm cool with simply saying, let's do a first reading tonight if you want, and come back to it in 2 weeks. 2 weeks is going to be a busy night. All right. Then we have IKF, graduation requirements, and it was substantially revised to reflect changes to the 306 rules, and with examples of multiple diploma options, lots of rescinded policies, and minimum number of credits. Local districts may set diploma requirements higher and or offer multiple types of diplomas. And it talks about the competencies again. IKFG, career exploration. They did a lot of work in updating the language for career pathways and wanted to make that a priority. And now this policy is required and has been revised completely to reflect the rules and offers opportunity for all grade levels to be exploring career pathways in a developmentally appropriate manner. So that's something that we actually have to have put in place. I know for a fact that that's something that all of our schools do, but this is something where they're putting the language in to make that an intentional thing. All right, IMAH, daily physical activity. Revised to designate the Wellness Committee under sample policy JLCF with the responsibility to monitor implementation of this policy and make recommendations to the board accordingly. This one was interesting to me. So I don't know if by wellness committee, they mean our board wellness committee, or do they mean that each school gets a wellness committee now? I wasn't sure what that meant. So I know that we as a board have a wellness committee. And so does that mean that you monitor implementation and make recommendations accordingly as far as how much activity is happening in each day in the classroom? Like the policy, when you read it, goes into detail about that, like this many minutes of movement.
Just a point of clarification, is actually a district wellness committee.
Yeah,
We just have
that's-
board membership.
Thank you for that. Yeah, so we have a district-wide committee that involves board members, but also which other members are part of that.
Well, we could ask the expert
Could-
right down
could
there.
ask the activities director, because that's her committee.
Yeah, Heather, please take this one, because this one really was new for me.
Well, so that's an interesting, I mean, obviously, think that we've based it mostly on what we've done and what the PE teachers are doing at all the schools and those kind of things. I don't know. But I guess it goes to the same thing that I was talking about, be active, right? And making sure that everybody's moving.
Yeah, there's a lot to the policy and it is all. in
I
the-
would have to
yeah.
read it and see where we're at.
Excellent.
Yep.
But who's on the committee? Like who, not people, but like positions, like what type of individuals, teachers?
Teachers. Yeah.
Administrators from
So
each building, right?
each building has an administrator or a teacher.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay.
And
And do we have community members on that one?
that's been ongoing in
Okay.
recruiting
Okay.
community members. Yep.
So Heather, this is in our agenda. There's a link to the full policy.
Okay.
It does go into some real detail in it.
will.
And again, it is required by law now.
Yep.
So it's an interesting one. All right, IMBA, remote learning. Revised to discuss more and rename distance education to remote learning and add provisions for alternative learning programs. Okay. And this, let's see, among other changes, policy is only required if the district intends to offer remote learning either for snow days or for individual students. And we do offer remote learning options, so. JIC student conduct, we've worked on JIC for years. Like that's a policy that comes up to us definitely yearly. And there's a minor revision to, let's see. Policy regarding discipline and conduct be accessible in ADA compliant form and that the district offer a verbal option when needed. So that is something that we absolutely need to, JIC for me, like that's the code of conduct for students, really. Like this is a real key one for the admin to look at for preparing for the handbooks again, to make sure all the language is up to law. All right, getting toward the end, maybe. All right, JLCF wellness. This is a second one involving that same minimum standards of daily activity. And I would love to know why these are two separate policies, but they are. They both need to be looked at. So the two ones that say wellness need to be reviewed. Those are new standards in the minimum standards at 306. Okay. All right, JLCK. All right. It's changing language, recoding, so to address the physical and emotional health needs of students. The deleted language is based on old rules with the new language intending to offer the more substance or at least examples to measure examples as to measures to achieve the objectives. I confess I read through this one and personally found it as convoluted as the summary that they gave, but I would really encourage our student services staff, especially to make sure they're kind of taking a look at this to see what language might need additional work. And the last one on this list for priority required, supervision of students. Apparently this was recommended and now it is priority. And it references definitions of school property, like that first one at the top. Okay. There is the list.
Lisa, can you send your summary to me as well, please?
I can do that.
Thank you.
Yep. All the summaries are actually taken also from, they're at the beginning of all the policies too, but I'll get those in as well. So when I'm going to go through the top ones in a second. When I created these, I took the sample pages from the New Hampshire School Board Association that I had originally sent to you guys. It was 109 pages. I went through the 109 pages and I cleaned them up for more immediate placement on the website. So if you guys chose tonight to approve them all without, and skip the second reading, they would be technically ready to go as long as they put a logo on. I went through all of the policy references and cleaned up the ones that we do not have and fixed the ones that we do have and added them in if we needed them. So, the language is technically cleaned up, so I will show you one with the wellness. If we click on these documents, you'll see Jaffrey-Rindge logo, wherever you guys want to put it. Here's a minute. If it is highlighted in yellow, those are notes to remove. Those are the summaries and the notes of the revisions and revision dates. And then I highlighted a couple of areas, very seldom though. I changed the word administration because they used a term that we didn't have, like they used some position that we don't have, I think. And so I put an administration there, but you'll see all of the policy is placed in here. The green is their highlighting. The links was a big piece of this policy. They wanted updated links, and so you'll see dates on those. But these are big policies. And again, I went through all of them. The yellow highlights can be removed, but like for this one with wellness, I'm glad I opened it up. Hang on, come on, be nice to me. Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay, other activities to promote student wellness. The district will endeavor to integrate wellness activities across the entire school setting, not just in the cafeteria or physical education and athletic facilities. In furtherance of this objective, each school in the district will, and I left this one open, identify at least one activity or list of options with a requirement to engage in one or more each school year. I'm thinking that we put in play pickleball. Like
Well, isn't that our walk to school?
Walk to school, perfect.
We do it twice a year now,
Love it.
right? We
Love it.
we follow the national one in
Yep.
October, and for the last 3 years, we've always done the one in the spring now.
I love that.
Yes.
Let me see, can I actually do that here? Yeah.
And
All right.
every school does it,
Mhm.
so.
Nice.
Yep.
Good. All right, so that kind of change can happen there. And then these are just notes. We do not have to keep these notes if you see them highlighted. The 9 bake sale exemption, yeah, this was a job, people. Okay. So I really am hoping the admin will take a look at this.
Yep.
And
They want to. The good news is the sentiment of a lot, I mean, there were, the 306s has, there's a lot of shifts for down the road. But a lot of the competency conversation and grading conversation and so forth, we've been working on for the past 7 years. And so we're well positioned to implementing these, and we certainly have articulated programs for, probably not articulated pre-K all the way through, but certainly in the middle school and high school for career development. So we're in good order that way, but there is more to do. And wellness, goodness, we can always do better, by a lot better.
I'm sure there are some pretty good books in preschool about careers.
Oh, there are great books. we may not just have said, oh, this is our approach to career development.
all right, so there's a couple of pieces in this document that I'm showing you now in the agenda that we still need to look at. There's a couple of policies that I didn't mention in that summary. One is JKAA was one of the policies that was referenced probably in JIC, but I'm not sure. But we need to update that policy, so that's in here. And it updates language for restraints and seclusion, so we absolutely need to be taking a look at that. And that's a priority required by law that we need to update as well. The other one, there's 2 that we also need to look at. I guess it was that one. And let's look at the cell phone policy. So we had just talked about this, that the new law has changed the cell phone policy to a bell-to-bell beginning of the day, end of day restrictions. And so this policy is now updated to reflect that new law. And it's replaced in its entirety and retitled to reflect the passage of RSA 189(1)A, which requires bell-to-bell cell phone ban policy. Additional revisions include incorporation of provisions formerly found in now rescinded JSEM. So that policy is in here for first reading, but again, this is law. We can pass it tonight if you want.
JC?
JICJ.
Oh, here it's, I'm on president.
Yep.
It's the-
All right. And then did we talk about the parental bill of rights yet? The AB? No. Nope. Let's open that one. And I'm almost done, people. All right. And this is, again, new law just passed, fresh, created in response to the passage of New Hampshire Parental Bill of Rights. So this is a shiny new law that we have, that, you guys can read, but it's law. I have no idea what to even say about this one. So we are going to,
It definitely had some controversy around its passing.
I mean, number 11, to opt out of any district level data collection relating, oh, wait, that one. The fact that you can opt out of standardized testing for the state and yet then you're gonna get counted as a 0 in that school's standardized testing, is that? Yeah, that like opt out, but don't include that person when you're getting average, it's just, yeah.
the thing is we've always had opt-out. Like,
But-
literally, this completely is redundant to how we do our business. It's just, now it's placed in this form and
But to
with
have to-
perhaps legal implication. It's just odd. So
Yeah.
it's an unfunded mandate. There's a lot of restrictions and they're not giving any resources to help us be able to monitor and do stuff with it. But that said, it's law.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
here is the policy for it. And there we go.
Excuse me, I know I'm not a board member, but what do we do if our current student information system does not have the facility to do some of this stuff?
A very, very good question to ask the one person left in the New Hampshire Department of Education on this. Sorry, and I know, and I'm sorry if that's not, that was, for the public, that's Leslie McLean is taking the notes tonight, and also, business analyst who's gonna be dealing with a great many of these issues. And so, I think we have to go one step at a time. This is a lot put on all of us. And everybody knew when Ed 306 got voted in that that was going to be a heavy workload for all admin. So we're gonna just take it one step at a time. And when there's issues, we will find the right people to talk with about them, okay? One thing that I find a great deal of hope in all of this is that every 130 school districts, I believe, 120 something school districts are going through exactly the same thing we are tonight. Within the last couple weeks, we are not alone in this. And yes, it is a lot. And many of these changes are doing exactly what we want in clarifying and transparency and consolidating and cleaning up, which is awesome. But we really have to be monitoring as well.
Oh, are we gonna be appointing a new director of cell phone custodianship?
Well, one of the things, that's a really good question. Yes, I hear the humor in it and truly appreciate that.
I admit that maybe you weren't.
How will this be policed? One of the things that the governor tried to put into her budget was the money to be able to purchase the facilities needed to store cell phones and safely do that. Many districts have had a bell-to-bell cell phone ban, but do it in such a way that it's respectful of students' property. That was taken out of the budget. So now there is no funding intended to help us respect students' property. So there are many ways that this can happen. I see lots of things coming at my feet of people buying shoe holders and putting it on their rack, and kids come in and put them in there. I don't know how this is gonna look. I don't. But I know that we do not have money to appoint a policeman.
There's gonna be
And-
some liability. Some of these phones are quite valuable.
Yes, there is.
And it's
Oh,
not
yes,
just,
this is very
it's
unfunded.
not just phones, it's watches, earbuds. You know,
Yeah.
you're potentially talking $1,000 in stuff.
I mean, how? This is already the policy at the middle school.
Right.
And both elementary schools. Right, we're already doing this, and it's already the policy that they can't have them out, I believe, anywhere except for lunchtime in the high school.
Correct.
So,
Or if they have a free block, like as a junior or senior.
so I think we already have like, I don't know, I look at this and I
That's
say,
the argument.
we have like our school in particular, not every school, but this is no change for either elementary school or the middle school. And it's adjustment for the high school. Right, so I don't think I don't know,
That's been the argument, Chris.
What do you
This
mean?
is so much of what was changed in these two policies, in the parental bill of rights.
Yeah, we already
And
do it.
in are things that the local school districts have had many active, transparent policies on that that work with our current procedures, that work with our staffing, that work with our financial abilities and our skill levels, and take into account the creativity of our staff and the impetus that they bring to be able to encourage the students to rise up and be better, and to encourage the families to be involved instead of just censoring. So, you know, I don't want to, I'm not going to do a soapbox, but the real question here was, why is this being taken from the schools when the schools are doing this job? So there's a lot more conversations that will be happening when we see all this enacted. And I have to say right now how grateful I am to our admin who are trying to create these handbooks and inform the students and inform the learners and inform the parents and inform the staff that these are our expectations coming in, and they have a lot to handle. And I just want to say from the start, from the board, I will speak for us, that we are very, very grateful that you guys are doing such a good job in trying to manage all of what was being thrown at them. Yes, Charlie?
I didn't want to.
Yeah, I'm done. I got stuff.
But the way I read the policy, basically it says the student is responsible. It goes in their backpack or their whatever. And it specifically states the district will not be responsible for loss, damage, or theft of any electronic communication device brought to school as part of the policy. So I think that rather than us looking for a way of managing the cell phone, we ought to ask the students, you know, the best way to manage the cell phone to keep them from using it. I mean, put it in your backpack, put it in your whatever, but anyway, sorry.
Or leave it home. I mean,
Leave it
we
home,
all
yeah.
grew up without them. I mean, I know that everyone has them now and I love having it, but to have $1,000 device that you bring to school could get stolen. So
We put a payphone in the lobby.
there you go. Although you'd have to give training on how to use it. Yeah.
All your eyes.
Yeah.
All right, so I would like the board's input on whether we keep these as a first reading tonight and bring them back for our next meeting of the hearing. Or if we vote on them tonight and put them forward, expecting that some will be edited, not to change the content, but to change as needed the detail as far as how many hours, how many minutes of homework, you know, that kind of thing. So to be suitable for our own usage. Charlie, do you have something to add?
Yeah, just me personally, I would prefer to allow the staff the opportunity over the next couple of weeks to provide some input, that we might be able to change the policy and then approve it then.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. Anybody else have that feeling? All right, first reading it is. We have 4 policies to rescind. And why don't we hang on to those as well, because they are related to the policies that we are about to approve next time. And then we have second reading. And tonight in person, we have Leslie. Thank you. So I'm going to ask you to take the microphone. Which policy do you want to look at first? Volunteers or background investigation?
Volunteers.
Volunteers.
Yes.
And do you want me to open up the policy or the procedures?
The
Policy. Okay.
Okay, so this all came about because we're going to automate the volunteer process, which has kind of been a little loosey-goosey. And we also found that there were contradictions between actual policy and our actual practice, and also that the volunteer, the policy IJOC, which says volunteers, also dealt with employees and contractors, and it was very, very confusing. So the yellow items are just advisory that I put in there. Each item, I'm going to put mine up on my screen because after looking at the close screen, I cannot read far away because I'm getting old. These updates, we have a volunteer committee. We looked through them. We did a broad meeting together where we noticed what needed to be changed. Then I did a red line, which was distributed to the entire committee, came back with a couple of changes here that have been made and that are reflected here. I'm not going to go through every one. I hope you did have the opportunity to look at them over the last 2 weeks. The first thing, though, is quite important. The policy has always said that we will have personnel, will have a reference check before a criminal background check, and we were not doing that. So that is a major shift in what we're doing. You have to pass at least a reference check before you can be a volunteer. So that is going to impact how fast we can onboard volunteers, but it's a question we brought to the committee. How are we going to do this to speed things and keep them up to date? Yes, Chris.
Yeah, I just have a question on that. Like, what sort of personal references were you thinking of for?
Just like on an application where you can give someone, when you hire someone, you can give someone a personal reference. Now, like Heather had spoken out that the her volunteers that work at the sports program are usually recommended by coaches.
Yeah.
So that would be a personal recommendation for them. But I don't know how.
I'm thinking as a parent. And I'm just wondering, like, let's say I move to town, right? And I want to take my kid on a field trip.
Well, you're going to have to go through a criminal background check for that. But
And personal references?
Personal references come first, and then the criminal background check. So that's the second stage. That's a designated volunteer, but even a supervised volunteer.
But that situation I'm talking about, right? If I move to town, I'm like, all right, I want to go to the aquarium kids. I got to do the background check and personal references.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I did hear John at the last meeting be concerned about the time that could be involved in this. So that's what we're trying to address right now.
Yeah, I mean, the notion of the background check, how does that work? Is it done? I understand there's a fingerprint process. And then
So there were two different types of volunteers. There's a supervised volunteer and a designated volunteer. The supervised volunteer does not have a criminal background check done. That's the one that we call the fingerprint background check or criminal check. Everyone would have a reference check, though, first. All right, that's in keeping with what existed in our policy that we weren't doing. This is equivalent to when we hire a new employee, we check their references before we do a criminal background check. So it's the same step. Then if you're going to be a designated volunteer, you want to go on a field trip, you want to be in a classroom all the time. You want other things where you're going to deal one-on-one with children in an unsupervised manner, then you have to go through the criminal background check. And you cannot,
how does that work?
we scan your fingerprints, we scan them, or you can get them scanned someplace else. We send the report off to the state police at our expense, not at the person's expense. And we get the background check report back. If they have absolutely no findings, that can be cleared in the office, that the person is cleared and approved to be a volunteer. We notify the school. that the person has been cleared. If the person has any type of findings at all, Ruben has to decide as to whether or not that person can be a designated volunteer.
And typically, is that like a month process or several weeks?
Typically, it's been a very long process, but we're going to change our process to speed this up because there is an online service available to us through the state police to take care of this, which we are investigating right now, and which they're talking about like a couple of weeks turnaround, I believe. There are some details we have to even out, but we hope to speed this along compared to what's happened. The process of doing it all solely through the mail has been incredibly painful and slow.
So it's going to be now done electronically.
Right, that's part of, we got the live scan station, so we can live scan fingerprints, and we're going to open an account directly with the state police, so we can have a portal into the state police and look up things as soon as they clear. So
Excellent.
hopefully it saves us a lot of time.
And if I could just ask about the reference check, any specifics on that? How many references would we require?
I'm going to look at the form for hiring teachers. I'm not sure how many, hiring regular staff, not just teachers, about how many references. It's 3, right? So 2 or 3, I would think would be fine for a referral like this. I mean, unfortunately, you are in the boat of, boy, if someone gives you a reference, they write down this person's a reference and they give you a bad reference, you really have a problem with that person. But it does happen. You do find from people when you check references. We would also expand that form a little bit to include things like, you might not have a reference problem, but there may be another adult you are not allowed to work with, especially if you have a custody issue.
Okay.
Right? Or something like that. The mom can be at school and dad can be at school, but mom and dad can't be together at school, things like that. So to ask a couple of more questions to make it easier for the staff assigning volunteers to activities that they don't step on things like this. That's the goal.
And what's the description of who you can use as a reference?
I have not made a description of who you can use as a reference. We're asking for personal references.
The reason I ask that is one of the things that we do as a Rotary is we say that you can only have, used to be you couldn't use a Rotarian as a reference. Now I think they let you use 1 out of 3. But, for people who've just moved to town and joined a Rotary Club, maybe all their friends are
Rotarians. Generally, you don't want all family members. That's a very common one to exclude.
Yeah.
But this is one of the ways I became involved in school is I signed up to be a volunteer when we moved here and my child was in the 5th grade. Of course, they sent me on a field trip without doing anything, which is terrifying. So we're going to prevent that from happening from here on out.
Yeah. And then if I could just ask, on the supervised volunteers, we would not do the fingerprint?
No, they do not get a fingerprint test. They don't get a fingerprint.
But you still want references?
Yes, yes. So Lisa, if you scroll down a bit here. The definition of the 2 different volunteers was not in the policy. It was only in the procedure. And I thought that was a little confusing, that it was helpful to define here what types of volunteers were there. So I lifted it from the policy and it's restated in multiple places. So everybody's on the same page. And as you can see here, the supervised volunteer occasionally visits the classroom, only does things within the building, and is always supervised by a district employee. Whereas a designated volunteer can be in the classroom frequently, routine classroom volunteer can chaperone for field trips, can provide direct and one-on-one services to students. So this includes tutors and coaching assistants, people like that. And we clarified here that a designated volunteer needs the criminal history check. We clarified that until you're fully accepted and until you passed your criminal background check, you still cannot chaperone. We're not letting you off campus with children until we know you don't have a background check. And on page 2, Again, it's just more clarification around those, the responsibilities of a designated volunteer. And then we had this list of activities that would automatically disqualify you from being a volunteer. Which, and of course, Ruben is the arbitrator, the superintendent is the arbitrator of people's criminal background checks. I mean, the most common things like we find on someone, someone has a 30-year-old charge for marijuana. It still comes up on their criminal background check, right? A 20-year-old traffic issue. All right. And also the statement is pretty clear at some point. I forget where that's said exactly in their application, but they have to disclose. Like if they disclose, I had this problem 20 years ago, and I know it's going to show up on my report. That is a different situation than someone not disclosing that they have this minor instance. And as we scroll down, there's, of course, anyone who's done a felony. And again, we reiterate the school trip issue and that we can revoke someone as a volunteer. If we have a problem with them, we can just revoke them as a volunteer. That's done by the building supervisor or the superintendent. And then we struck all the stuff that maintained other types of people. IJO CR or whatever it is. Let me see. IOGCR. Basically, is just how we're going to do that. So this is more internal. We had tried to make this that the person had to use the live scan here because it's the most accurate. Like when we scan someone with a live scan, it'll tell us, oh, these prints probably won't pass. They're not adequate prints. If they go and scan, do a wet fingerprint in the police department, we have a pretty high rate of rejected prints. But we can't force them to do that. But we're going to encourage them strongly to please do come in for the live scan, to please use all our electronic documents. This will onboard volunteers faster. So that's what it talks about with the record check and the volunteer service agreements, which will be totally rewritten to keep in track with this policy. There's just information about retaining the information on volunteers. And one of the things we're doing as part of this project is building a small database of people who volunteered last year. And then we'll be feeding that database every year for as we add volunteers and whether or not they needed to go through a background check again, what their results were and everything. So this way a principal or even a teacher can go in and say, I need someone for, I don't know, International Reading Day. I need to look for a volunteer who's cleared to come in. And she or he will be able to look it up right away. I have fed that database already with all of last year's information. And I have designed the data entry form for when we get new volunteers. I have to design the retrieval form for the teachers and the principals, but I'm waiting for these policies to be approved before I do that.
And this sentence also might help with answering John's things that, and you said it before, but they'll be allowed to serve while they're waiting for the background checks, as long as it's not off campus.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason why you can't, but you can't do those specific things. Right. We talk about the confidentiality agreement on the next page, I think. And then again, and then we list everything that the person is going to agree to, which will match the form. So everybody knows what they're doing. Now, this policy references the other one, which is GBCD background checks. Now, this pertains to anyone who has a background check. It is not specific to volunteers. We just had to basically kind of add some language where it was confusing about volunteers. And let me see where that starts. I updated the language to match IJOC on, I think that's the top of page 2. Yeah, it's the top of page 2. I added the language. So we explain the volunteers and what they do. Yeah, there's not a lot of change to this one. I think the next change, it's like on page 4 someplace. Oh, I do want to say on page. It's on page 5. This references a policy that does not exist. GBCE. I cannot make the decision if you need GBCE. I don't know what GBCE would be. I'm just referencing, it does not exist. And if someone in the policy committee wants to investigate that, that's fine with me, but I felt that was outside of my purview. Okay. That was the only changes there. And I think in GBCR, if we can look at the R1. Okay, so GBCD-R. Again, we had to, we added on the first page, if you could go to the next one, Lisa, the next policy, because there's nothing else on here. Yep, the last one, GBCDR-R. Okay, so here is the information about, we want you to use the web form. You know, we want to avoid the paper if possible. But Sarah, HR specifically asked us not to limit people to that. And that they must submit fingerprints, and we'd like them to use our system if possible. Further down, we talk about continuation of service as a designated volunteer is entirely conditioned on the completion of the successful completion of your criminal history records check. It was not, it didn't specifically say a designated volunteer. And I think that's about it. So like I said, this was reviewed by the committee. We drafted it up. They reviewed it again. We made some changes, and now it's all with you. And if you approve it tonight, we can continue on our project.
Are we okay to put these together as a group? All right, we have a motion to approve these 4 policies.
Charlie?
Charlie, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, John. Any discussion? All right.
Great. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? So policies IJOC, IJOCR, GBCD, and GBCDR are now approved for posting. And Leslie, thank you and your committee so much for all this work. That was a massive amount of work you guys did. Really appreciate it. Are there any?
Charlie moved and who seconded?
Charlie and John. Yeah. All right. Are there any discussion items? I have one that just an addition to your superintendent's report. There's a job fair coming up, or did that already pass? It is coming up, right?
Yep.
Okay, can you talk about the job fair for a minute?
Yes. I am going to, I was part of the one who picked the date and everything, but it's been a little bit. It says July 29th. Is it next Friday or Thursday? All right, let me see.
Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Summer.
Is it?
It's
I'm gonna-
Tuesday.
Okay,
Lisa's doing the Facebook thing Monday, 28th.
excellent.
It's been put in the house.
I'm
Yeah.
not seeing it on the website.
It's on the Facebook page, but I don't think it's in the.
Here we go. Job fair, July 29th from 1 to 5. Specifically, we're looking for paraeducators, or mostly we're looking for paraeducators, all levels of the organization. So we've had our most success when we target the job fair narrowly, as opposed to saying we're hiring everything, So I think there is I saw another posting out there that was about saying that we needed to have some custodians as well, and maybe there was a teacher. I think the STEM teacher,
Yes.
RMS STEM teacher opened up. So that was for specifically for our RMS, but for the job fair, it was for paraeducators. So we are in need of about 7 paraeducators within the school district for next year, I believe is what the last count was. So Jen had asked for that. We have these signs that we invested in years ago or a couple years ago, and we just keep changing the dates. And we've had success every time we've had one. So
I saw one in Peterborough at the intersection the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so it's good.
Thank you. Any other discussion items?
I just have a question. Do you have any kind of an announcement to make or,
In board matters.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's move on to public comments.
Can
Number
I,
two.
I'm sorry, I can, since we have this up, can
Sorry.
you go to now hiring?
Can say a little out for me.
Can you go to now hiring? I have a question.
I can't.
To click on the little tab on the top that says now hiring. Yeah. And look at the list of jobs that are open, job openings.
Just scroll down.
Okay. Okay. So I know that we are in need of a construction trades teacher.
Mhm.
And yet that we are sadly in need of a construction trades teacher in this community, which is, but it's not listed. Like what makes this list and what doesn't make this list?
That's a direct feed from school spring.
Yeah, it should definitely be there. Because it feeds directly from school. So it's in my school spring documentation. And I talked to HR about this, and she had also put it on Ed Jobs. So she's advertised it in the state website as well.
So it's obviously being advertised, but just
It
not
is,
on our
but
website.
but this is a good point.
Yeah, because this does go back to April.
Yep, it should be there.
Okay. Good call. All right.
Check.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, public comments. Number two, so we'll get the policy back up again. And is there anybody online? No? Nothing, nobody wants to say public comments at this time? Right,
I think we bored them all.
just you wait. All right. Intentional movement, okay. So board matters, are there, I guess facilities met today, is that right? Is there anything to update on that?
Well, we talked about some things that need to be done over the next 6 weeks. And with the hope that those can get done. But we also talked about things that are going to be needed for the coming year. We do have some money approved in our facilities reserve.
Maintenance trust fund.
We have quite a few things that are needed, but things that are urgent are what we're talking about. And there are 2 lines of windows on the first floor of each of the elementary schools. That is to say, 1 section of windows at the JGS and 1 at RMS that we think are in critical need of repair. There's going to be an upgrade to really a patch job to the track that we hope will get done either before the start of school or at least before the track season starts. And we talked quite a bit about the drainage problem at the Rindge Middle School, which is something that's been going on for a long time. We did have a quote to do some work there that was quite expensive. I don't recall right now, but I think it was over $1 million. This goes back 6 or 7 years ago, before the new parking lot was put in. And now with the rain events like the ones we had yesterday, where the sky just opens up, we're getting some serious backup into the boiler room. And to solve that problem, we need to find a way to avoid damaging the wetlands that the water typically drains into. So it's a fairly large problem that's going to have to be studied carefully, but also actively. Christine, do you have anything?
No, I just feel saddened that what we're talking about is doing quite a few patch jobs. And JGS parking lot, the track. And, you know, our hope had been before the budget year to get these things done correctly. And instead we're trying to do them with limited funds and hope that they last until we can get those items done correctly in a future budget.
And I would add, I guess, is that we're working now without a facilities director. Relying quite a bit on our maintenance people and on our supervisor and business administrator.
Any other committees met? We have a policy committee coming up in August on the first Thursday in August. The calendar won't open up, that's okay. If there's no other matters, I do have an announcement.
I had something I wanted to bring up too.
Okay, why don't you go first?
So, you know, I've been given a lot of thought. We've got the public hearing coming up. We're gonna start the budgeting process again. So as we approach the upcoming public hearing and the budgeting process in the fall for the next year's budget, I'd like to make a few comments. History has a way of repeating itself. In March of 1984, this school district had a budget of 3.9 million, and the voters cut the budget by $200,000 for that 1984-85 school year. The board at that time had tough decisions to make, just as this board will have to make tough decisions. Cuts were made to the sports. They cut the sports program by 50%. It was pointed out that sports have a positive indirect effect on the entire district. The same thing we're hearing tonight. The horticulture program was cut. Music was cut for the high school, the middle school, no music lessons, no madrigal choir, no chorus. All the field trips were eliminated. The proposed busing budget was cut, and high school students had to pay to take the bus to school. The alternative education program was eliminated. Maintenance was deferred, including the dry well behind the Rindge school to reduce the water drainage program. This was in 1984. Rugs, furniture, and other items were not purchased. There was an administrative reorganization that was done to save money. At that time, we had a superintendent and an assistant superintendent in 1984. Teachers and aides were eliminated and summer school was eliminated. The school board tried to cut in ways which would affect the fewest numbers of students and have the least effect on the quality of education in this district. They went through the budget cutting what wasn't of educational value, trying to eliminate failing. This board will have to make those same decisions with the same thoughts in mind. The comments made by those school board members, Charlie Carroll, Barbara Robbins, Marsha Breckenridge, they're all the same comments being made by this board. The superintendent at that time said that the short-term savings were going to have adverse long-term education effects. This is the same thing Mr. Duncan has been saying to us. Took me a while to dig up all that information, but I found it.
That's pretty impressive.
Good job.
Wow. Huh?
Wow.
Yeah. And we're still working on the drainage problem. Okay. Yeah.
So I have an announcement. In early summer, the board was broached with the idea to share our superintendent in partnership with another school district, which is in need of some mentor leadership part-time. The board has agreed to allow Ruben to explore this opportunity, and we expect any planned partnership to be better solidified in the next few months, weeks to months. And the public will hear more about that as we learn more about it. But that is the announcement. Okay. We will take our final motion for the evening.
So moved.
John first, Christine second. All right. I hope you guys are all on Facebook and will watch John and I as we
Yes, still have to vote.
open up. Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Same. Thank you.